Should I do an intro or do we wait for people to come?
Stephen, we are live.
Okay. Yeah, it says...
Stephen, we are currently live. You don't ask me things after we've gone live.
Great start. G'day, everyone. It's SDS SuperCoach. We're presenting Throwdown Thursdays, the debut episode. It is a little late because my planning sort of sucks. So it'll be more planned. It'll be planned a lot better next week. So joining me, my co-host for AFL SuperCoach Throwdowns Thursdays is Damo from the Footy Mailbag. How we going, Damo?
Yeah, I mean, Throwdown is probably a good name for it because it was kind of thrown together at the last minute, this whole idea. I think he came to me last week and we kind of planned it out and here we are. So, yeah, we should see what we discuss. I mean, if there's anyone out there on a Thursday morning looking to tune into a YouTube live, here's the place to be.
G'day, Global. How you going, mate? So I guess the show we're sort of trying to replicate is Fireball Fridays type of radio style show for SuperCoach. So usually try to do it on the morning. So that's sort of what we're trying to replicate. There'll be debates, there'll be banter, there'll be calls in, there'll be quizzes, all that stuff. So just something a bit different to try out. We'll see how we go this year. Now, one thing I will say is because no one wanted to be a part of being a caller, so we haven't done any of that preparation. So we're just going to go as a regular us two sort of thing, Damo.
At least this week, yeah.
Of course. So let us know on Thursdays if you're available in the morning and you can be a part as a caller and you can take part in the quiz as well, ask us a question, that sort of thing. So that's sort of the process of it. So we've got a bit of a run sheet. It'll be a much better run sheet next week as we get into the groove of this new series. So I guess firstly, we can talk as general people. Are you going to any footy games this week, Damo?
No, I've got no reason to. I mean, the only game happening in WA is West Coast Gold Coast, and I don't really want to go to that game.
No, that screams last game of the round kind of vibe, doesn't it? So I will be there for Hawthorn Essendon. So that should be good fun with the old man. So that should go well. Look, firstly, let's get into some starting team dilemmas, just on a personal side of things. Where are we sitting with our starting team as we are about 7 hours away from the first bounce? Well, for me in Melbourne time, and also probably for you as well.
Yeah, so my starting team is... I don't know. I can't make any moves to my starting team. Like, I've selected 31 players. I like 30 of them. There is one guy that I'm probably going to, get rid of as soon as possible. I've picked Riley Sanders just because I've only got 362K to spend once I've picked the other 30 players that I want. So he's in my forward line. I think while Bont's out, he's going to get an extended an expansive midfield role. And I just think even if I don't keep him even if he is part of my first upgrade at round 6 or whatever, or whenever that happens, I don't love having Riley Sanders, especially the way Luke Beveridge treated him last year, but by all reports, he's in for a big season and hopefully we can see that early days.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually sending out a link to the Twitter world, so that's why I asked you that. But look, well, I guess for me with my starting team would be: do I go 5 deep in defence, or do I go 6 deep in the midfield? I would much prefer to go 6 deep in the midfield, just due to the plethora of options that we have this season. But the only problem would be is that probably the midfield rookies are one of the best that we have. So and then taking out a defender rookie is probably the best way to do it. So that sort of means Tom Stewart versus Will Day in my eyes. I don't know how are you viewing Tom Stewart?
I think you're going to get pretty similar from Tom Stewart and Will Day. I don't think Will Day is going to get 6 free kicks and kick 3 goals every single week, and that was pretty much a third of his score. So what's his score going to look like if he never gets those free kicks and never kicks those goals, especially early in that game when the result was still on the line? If he kicked those goals while the game was pretty much, settled in Hawthorn's favour, does he still get to 148 points? I'm not sure. He definitely doesn't finish on 148 without those 6 free kicks.
No, he doesn't, and that's sort of the juggling act with this pick. And 148 is a great result, and decent chance it might be his highest score of the year. But it's just he's not going to get 6 free kicks. He's not going to kick 3 goals every week. We saw what happened last season when Will Day did get tagged, and then we saw in the second half what happened when he got tagged again. So that's still progressing in his game, the ability to shake that tag. And can he do it? Can he shake it on a weekly basis? I don't think so. I'm not sure if he's there yet in that side of things, realistically.
Do you think so? Last year, round 0 saved a lot of people from poor selections, from risky selections, because they saw in round 0 that the guys just didn't have the roles that they thought they would have after the preseason games. Do you think this year, where it's going the other way, where people are jumping on the guys like Will Day, Finn Callahan, Matt Roberts, maybe even we never saw Adam Chera, but Adam Chera is being thrown into teams because he fits? Do you think that round 0 is going to trap people? Do you think it's going to have the opposite effect? Or do you see guys like Finn Callahan, Will Day, Matt Roberts, those guys in that price range sustaining what we saw in round 0, and maybe round 0 has once again saved people and we've found some value selections?
I think it'll be a bit of a mixture. Matt Roberts isn't going to average 124 for the season. Finn Callahan isn't going to average 140 plus. Will Day isn't going to average 140 plus. So that's probably how. Yeah, but I think the main point is it helps them as the pick, because that score does count in SuperCoach. So they'll get that early price rise. I think it's the matter of the eye test for most people. And if you're not sure on a pick, probably just go back and watch them on a mini, on a KO mini or something like that, and just really see, is this sustainable? Probably Will Day's performance is not sustainable, as much as I love him. I do think he's much better than his 91 average price tag currently, but his score and the way he got his points isn't sustainable. I think Finn Callahan's, you could make an argument, is also not sustainable, because he won't go up against that snail-like Collingwood midfield every week as well. So, and then Tom Green might be coming into the side. So
I think Finn Callahan's,
it's more sustainable all days.
I think Finn Callahan's performance is more sustainable than Will Day's, just because Finn Callahan's got the big body size, he's got the pace, he's got the inside-outside ability. He's a different sort of midfielder to Tom Green. Both of them can coexist in the same centre bounce setup. Yes, Tom Green may take some of the clearances away, may take some of the the possessions away, and I heard from Lockie McCurdy late last month, middle of last month, that Tom Green is looking to do more with his disposal once he gets it at the stoppage. But I believe what I saw from Finn Callahan looked far more sustainable than what we saw from Will Day. And you also spoke about Matt Roberts not averaging 124. Well, he managed that score with only a couple of kickouts. So I think I think he's got a. So I think 124 probably he's not going to average, but I don't think his floor is going to be too bad that at 530 at 434k I should say that he's not a good selection. And we saw back end of last season that Matt Roberts could score in the 90s, early hundreds pretty regularly, and he was a ball winner in his junior days, where he was one of the top averaging mids, one of the top averaging junior mids in his his underage seasons. So I don't think that Matt Roberts is much of a risk, and I think that Finn Callahan, well, you don't get offered 17 million over 10 years if you're going to be a winger. So I think we're going to see a definite uptick in what Finn Callahan can produce this season. I'm not expecting 100. I'm not expecting 144 every single week, but I don't think an average of between 105 to 10 between 105 and 110 is unrealistic for Finn Callahan, and maybe not even unrealistic for a guy like Will Day either.
Do you start Finn Callahan knowing he's got the bye next week?
Best 18. I don't see any issue with it.
No, me neither. And if you're, I listened to SuperCoach with DR's team reveal on the drive back yesterday. It took me about an hour 20 to drive home from work, which was just unbelievable, due to the storm. But one thing he did say is, he's looked back on the footage and he's looked at the footage and he just sees this being as a massive upside pick, and it obviously is. And the thing is, if it passes the eye test for you, you don't need to listen to anyone else. He's happy for it to, whatever happens. I've seen Finn Callahan. This type of style of game from Finn is sustainable, and I'm happy to start that. And if it doesn't work out, we've got a bunch of other options to look to. So yeah, and that's I think probably a really good way at it. If you're starting Finn Callahan, if it passed the eye test for you, as the case is with most starting picks, if it passes the eye test for you, you don't need to listen to anyone else. You just go with it. And I guess this brings into, I know I didn't have this on the run sheet, but it was a note in my head that I wanted to bring into conversation. What is more important, nailing your starting team or nailing in-season trades? I think in my opinion, I think that there's an answer comfortably.
I think your starting team sets you up, but your trades is what seals the result. Because I don't think my finished side last season, I only think I had maybe 2 or 3 guys from my starting side last season, because towards the end of the year, I reckon I had injury after injury, like rookies were dying. So I was picking 200, 300k guys who had a spike game just to get the cash generation. So I think your starting side is important, and I think the trades throughout the year is important. Which one's more important? Well, I think if you start the right team, you use the least amount of trades throughout the year. So I think that is probably more important. But I don't think either are the be all and end all of how a season runs out for people.
Yeah, I personally reckon it's in-season trading, because you can start out extremely slow, and if you can build your way back up through trades. If you can nail the starting team but can't replicate the in-season trading, all that is just your whole research for your starting team. It just feels useless if you can't trade properly in season. So that's why it's so important, and that's why you need a bit of luck as well with in-season trading. You need probably a couple of popular guys getting injured for it to go your way. So it is a lot of luck. Yeah, so I think the first few rounds of trading is by far and away the most important thing you can do in SuperCoach, and that determines your cash gen for a
You,
lot of it, realistically.
you moved on fairly quickly from what I wanted to bring up regarding Finn Callahan. If we could just go back
Oh,
5 minutes.
yeah.
But in his draft, so he was drafted in the same year as Jason Horn-Francis, Sam Darcy, Nick Dacos,
McAndrew.
Mac Andrew, Nazai Wanganeen Malera, Darcy Wilmot, Kai Lohman, Mitch Nevitt, just a bunch of guys who are coming into their best, who are finally up to the AFL standard and will be looking to make their next step, because usually about 3 years post draft, you see these players as they were as juniors and whether they can make it in the AFL system. Drafted the same year as Matty Roberts as well. So I think if Finn Callahan is going to break out, it's either going to be this year or next year.
Certainly feels like it this year, doesn't it, Damo? And
yeah.
I was seeing stuff on Twitter last year as well regarding Finn Callahan, that top 5. Oh, Finn Callahan looks like the dud, but now everything's coming into play. So that draft will go down as one of the best ever. That's what it feels like. I don't know about you, Damo, but it certainly feels like that draft is just unbelievable. And didn't have some absolute gun rookies as well. So yeah, it was an interesting discussion last year with Finn Callahan being potentially the dud of the top 5, but it's all coming into play now, and I think we're seeing Stephen Coniglio move out, so that helps Callahan as well. I think Coniglio's back to that forward pocket role, which made him cheap that 1 year, Damo.
Yeah, I don't. There was a few years where Stephen Coniglio would be your first pick in either your midfield or your forward line, but he's moved past those days. And I know some people were looking at him as a potential cheap midfield option this year, but no, I think Finn Callahan's the guy that's going to benefit from one the Tom Green injury, but also the guys that have been traded out and moved the other way. I mean, the one thing no one's talked about is who takes James Peatling's role in the midfield, and maybe Callahan just gets that added on to what he was already doing, and that's how he breaks out.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you brought up Peatling. Do we reckon all the value picks that we've been given around that midfield just makes it hard to fit Peatling in? Because we've all loved the Peatling pick throughout the preseason. And I still personally have, if you're starting James Peatling, I don't have any issues. Because I still think he's a good pick. But do you still see it being a good pick? And is it just because of these value options taken over from maybe a mid-price guy like Peatling?
I still really like the James Peatling selection, but it did worry me when he did not get a centre bounce attendance for a half in that preseason match. And I know that preseason matches are renowned for not being a high stoppage game, lots of free flowing halfback sort of cheap possession football. So maybe we didn't see the role that we wanted from James Peatling because the game didn't, the game style wasn't there for it. But no, I think at 350k, I think he's another guy who he's a guy who we're talking about these 450k guys like Adam Chera going 100, 105 and being like, yep, cool, that's awesome. But James Peatling could miss that mark and still be a good selection because he still makes 200k on his price. Whereas Adam Chera, Finn Callahan, Will Day have less margin to go under what we're predicting to be a successful pick.
Yeah, and I think at some point Peatling will reach 500k. I don't know whether they're just going to ease him into it or like just getting into that midfield role. I'd be very surprised because I would have thought Adelaide's main selling point to the James Peatling race would have been we'll play your midfield. So I find, I do suspect a bit of midfield time for Peatling, but he might just get eased into it.
That midfield mix at Adelaide's going to be so interesting.
I think it's a lot better than they finally moved off Rory Laird in that midfield. I know a lot of Crows fans are calling for his head in the selection, is Rory Laird the worst 500 plus K guy to start in SuperCoach?
I mean, apart from the injured guys.
Yeah, that aren't injured.
Let me have a quick look.
He'd be up there because his job security it doesn't seem that good. Which you probably pay.
I mean, if you're labeling Rory Laird as the worst, you're putting him worse than Matt Crouch, Took Miller.
I reckon they're worse. Oh, sorry, I reckon they're better starting picks than Rory Laird.
Ollie Wines.
Yeah, because he's playing midfield. Especially early without Butters to start the season, he'll play full-time mid.
Tim Kelly.
Okay, you might have me there. I didn't. Was he 500K, Damo?
He's 514K. Just nicks in.
Over 500.
Hang on. Blake Acres is 500K on
that
the
doesn't
dot.
count. That doesn't count. What fun is he 500K? You're telling porkies.
Jai,
no way.
Jai Caldwell is 506K.
Yeah, I'd rather him over Laird.
Okay. All right. Well, Tim Kelly worse than Rory Laird. You heard it here first.
Yeah, probably. What was his thing about Tim Kelly? He's lost his love for footy. He's trying to get it back.
He's lost his love for footy. He hasn't enjoyed himself for a long time, and that just screams that he's probably going to retire once his contract's up.
Yeah, or go to Freo.
I don't want him. I don't want him. I don't know where he would fit.
All right, let's talk.
Unless West Coast is going to ask for like a pick 135 or something for him, then I don't want
the Reece Palmer trade.
Yeah, the Reece Palmer trade. Then I don't want him.
Let's move on to some vice captain and captain options for this week. We're a bit out of the loop because we haven't got any data, so we can really somewhat use data from last year, which is still relevant, but there'll be some trends that do change. Now, how do I view it? I personally view it as one of our ruckmen should be one of the main choices here. Surely everyone has one of Tom De Koning, Tristan Cherry, or Max Gawn. That's how I view it. I think they're probably one of the best.
Yeah, my vice captain. Sorry, I was responding to a message. I expect you to keep talking for a little bit longer there. My vice captain's on Tom De Koning. I think the way that Carlton's going to play and the way Richmond are going to be, especially early in the season, while these young guys and while this team is going to gel together, that Richmond side is going to get absolutely smashed. Unfortunately, I think they're going to be a great side in the future because they have drafted remarkably, but I think early on it's going to be a lot of pain for Richmond supporters, and Tom De Koning should get a pretty good start as the main ruck, even though he is up against Toby Nankervis.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nank and De Koning should both go pretty well tonight because Nank can do the tap outs, De Koning can do around the ground stuff, and we've seen the ceiling with Tom De Koning. Max Gawn might go 300, so if you don't have him, I probably wouldn't watch the game, so I probably won't. I'll wait for West Coast, Gold Coast. Tristan Cherry against Tim English, that seems relatively scary. Are you starting Cherry?
Yeah, my rucks at the moment are Cherry, DeConning, and then I've got Matt Flynn in the flex.
You could probably VC DeConning into Cherry. Is that what you're thinking?
No, my captain is on Lockie Neal.
Oh, Chalky?
Yep.
Yeah, Chalky should be good. Are there any other ones? Like Hawthorn don't tag. Could Zach bit of a pod option, but could Zach Merritt cut sick?
He potentially could. I wouldn't say Hawthorn don't tag though, because I mean Finn Callahan is in the team.
Finn Callahan.
Finn McGuinness, I should say.
Yeah.
Too many Finns in the AFL. Please eliminate one. I'm not a crackpot.
Sorry, Finn McRae won't be much longer.
That is the one that gets eliminated.
Yeah. I'm surprised he isn't already. Yeah, so there's plenty of captain options, I guess. To move on that point, if your VC delivers, do you start a loophole? Because that's been sort of, or do you just straight captain Tom DeConning, Toby Nankervis, Paddy Cripps, that type of thing?
Do you know the only non-playing rookie that I am prepared to start is Harry Boyd. We don't even know if he's selected or not yet, but I think at 99k mature age ruckman,
He'll play.
I think he will play eventually, even if he's not selected in round one. So I don't mind selecting him regardless of selection.
Are you concerned if he doesn't get named this week without Max King?
No, not really. I mean, Jack Steele said he didn't know if he was playing, and everyone took that as he's not playing. But
Yeah.
Jack Steele's not part of match committee. He said he didn't know the team, so he didn't know if Harry Boyd was playing because he didn't know. He wasn't saying that as if he wasn't playing. He just didn't know if Harry Boyd was going to be playing. He just knows that Rowan Marshall is back, and he knows that Jack Sinclair is back. So whether that means Rowan Marshall plays forward while Max King is out, who knows? But that doesn't mean that Harry Boyd isn't playing. But I mean, but Harry Boyd, 99k, he's not going to be sitting in the Sandful. Jesus Christ, sitting in the VFL all year, especially if he continues the form that he had in the Sandful last season.
Yeah, I agree. I think the height will be a concern for him, but I think St Kilda's best dimension early rounds is Marshall forward with with Harry Boyd in there as well. So I'd be surprised if they didn't run with that. I think Marshall's forward craft is actually really good for a ruckman, and I'm surprised ever since Paddy Ryder that they haven't tried it out more. Besides the odd cockroach legend Tom Campbell appearance, which was very interesting. But yeah, I know Jono might be listening. So Jono, let us know how you view the Saints' best chance of winning in terms of no Max King round one. Does Harry Boyd and the Rowan Marshall combination potentially look good? We'll find it. We will find out tonight. Do you reckon there will be a curveball in selection? There usually is every year, especially in round one. Have you got a big call?
There's I don't know if it's going to be a curveball at selection, but I think there's going to be a curveball at final teams. It really wouldn't surprise me if someone like a Levi Ashcroft or a Mitch Nevitt is the sub.
Yeah, I was thinking Mitch Nevitt. Yeah, and that will send teams in a frenzy a bit.
In saying that though, does the sub turn you off starting a rookie? I mean, most of the time the answer is yes, but the Cats have spoken about how much they like what Mitch Nevitt is doing. So I think he's going to be a little bit like Sean Manor, where you just have to hold him until because eventually Sean Manor became one of the best rookies selections like that you could have started last season, but everyone got scared because he was named sub out for 3 weeks and then came back in the side and then was fine.
I mean, don't you just trade in Mitch Nevitt if you have to? Like, if he's named sub round 1, surely you don't start him.
I'm seeing a lot of teams out there with not a lot of cash in the bank. And if you're starting Mitch, and there's not a lot of rookies around Mitch Nevitt's price unless you flick him to like maybe a Xavier Lindsay or well, not even that, because Finn O'Sullivan, you've got to find another 40K. You got to find another 40 to 45K. Like, I'm talking about like within 10K of Mitch Nevitt's price. I'm seeing teams with so little money in the bank that like there's not a lot of players around his price. Like Xavier Lindsay is 13K above Mitch Nevitt's price. He's probably the best chance. Or like the other option is just go all the way down to like a Hugh Boxall or something, and hope that Boxall holds his spot and then use that extra money elsewhere.
Even
or Hasty or someone like that. Yeah, but I hope Mitch Nevitt gets an extended run in the Geelong midfield, but I'm not confident because I don't trust Chris Scott.
No, if he's not sub, I think we start him, but we got to be prepared for rookies to be sub and all that. Probably one of the only rounds where for the whole weekend you probably want to stay on your phone with your SuperCoach team, hear the final changes, all that, because of how fluid. Because nothing's set in stone until the lockout and the games are played. Probably one of the only weekends where we really got to glue ourselves to our phone. Like you don't want to go camping this weekend. I think that's fair to say, Damo. You don't want to be in the wilderness sinking.
I remember back at Jock Reynolds. I think it was Patch. He was working out in Orange, New South Wales, and he was required to go into the country for a story because he was working for the local newspaper there. He could not change his team. His team was, he had to pick a team that was so generic and safe just to save him, and then it turns out the team that he picked wasn't even safe because one of the premiums that he picked up an injury on the day of selection and didn't get selected.
That's so stiff.
So even if you think if you're getting on a flight because you're crossing the country or because you're heading overseas, you need to you need to pay for the Wi-Fi access on your flight just so you can check your team at the right moment.
Yeah. Connor Rozee laid out. Like, we just got to be prepared for these things because our teams are not set in stone. This is, I'm all weekend, I'm just watching footy. I don't know about what your plans are, Damo, but probably one of the only weekends that I will be glued to the phone, glued to the TV, watching AFL footy because we miss it. 2, to stay alert with the SuperCoach news, relevant news.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those. I think this year we've got the most options in terms of rookies, premiums, and mid prices, where there is no right or wrong way to build your team. But still, we're seeing these teams come out and look pretty much the same as everyone else's, and that's because everyone has seen what everyone has seen in the preseason, and we know who the good players are. And it's so nice to have a pod that no one else has, but it's just not happening this week.
Round 0. Our pods don't become pods anymore. I'm trying to think of. Leave in the comments down below who your lowest owned player is. I believe mine's Christian Petrarca at 9%.
I've got 3 players under 10%.
Oh, you cheeky devil.
I've got Jordan Clark, James Peatling, and Luke Davies-Uniacke.
Oh, Luke Davies-Uniacke.
Yeah.
God, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Good old
So
LDU.
at the end of seasons, I kind of plan. I start calculating starting prices for the next year, so I can start to kind of get a feel for where the to where the value is. And what's funny is I was looking at that plan that I made back in November. This was before the team picker opened. My team only has about 4 or 5 different players.
Is that right?
So
Good.
back in November, so my thoughts back in November haven't changed to where my team has ended up today, meaning I've gone on a long winding road to end up at the same place.
Well, I think it's actually pretty important to have guys that you have been keeping your eye on this entire preseason. And if they turn out to be good options, then you just run with it. Because I think the most frustrating thing you can do in your starting teams is start a guy you don't really want to start, and they turn out to be crap. And your gut feel was correct, but you still went with it, maybe due to the ownership skyrocketing or peer pressure, FOMO, that type of thing. I I don't start guys that I don't want to start, and I'll just trade to them if I have to. I'm starting Jaden Short because I've never been burnt before. Can't get burnt if you've never been burnt before. So, same with like Chera, and
I can't start
full
Jaden Short.
watch.
Every time I own Jaden Short, he gets injured or his role changes or he dislocates his elbow and is out for 14 weeks or something. So as much as I love the role, I'm not trading him in as a service to everyone else who wants to start him.
I get to watch Jaden Short and Adam Chera in the same game. It'll be a roller coaster of emotions every time they go down to pick up the ball. See, is it cramp? Is it hamstring? Is it calf? Or are they all good? Good old SuperCoach. I think we can move into a discussion point. Thank you all for the. Actually, we'll get to some comments real quick. We're not ignoring you. We're just having a good old time, me and Damo. G'day Global. G'day Jono. G'day Rookie Coach. Rookie Coach has been putting in a few comments for most of the stream here, so appreciate that. If you can nail your corrective trades, you're good. That was back with the starting side and trading stuff. Brad, my boy. Leave in the comment down below if you want to record jump on, jump off after this. Waiting for some rookies to come out of nowhere, which they do. Yeah, Ollie Hollands in his first season, he was named round 1 and everyone just sort of jumped on him in extremely late and just didn't realize, oh wait, hang on, he's got a great role. Yeah, so there's usually someone every year. I'd be very shocked if Mitch Nevitt was starting sub, but there is concern who might get subbed. Yeah, so you'd want to hope that Mitch Nevitt is playing well because
I would hope that if Nevitt has the role and that even if he does get subbed out, he has scored well enough, maybe a 60 to 70 point until 3/4 time. I'd hope that he can at least go 20 points a quarter just as a midfielder. So I'm not too worried about him getting subbed out as long as it's a late sub.
So it'd be him and Dempsey on the wing, wouldn't it? I expect him to play wing.
I'm not sure if he's wing. I think he's been in the midfield.
Bounce.
Yeah, he's been attending centre bounces.
Okay. Yeah, I was sort of thinking, would they really put him in the midfield? So that's what I was sort of thinking about on the wing. Yeah, so that's interesting. LDU, so very similar to you, Damo. Shout out to Shaggy there. You need to go creative if you want a true pod at under 5%. I have 2 players under 5 and one under 10%. I reckon I had about 5 players under 5% in January, and then I think 4 of them have just gone bonkers. I think that was like Matty Roberts, Adam Chera. I think even Jaden Short might have been one. That's all right. Blight Richards. Which Richards would this be?
Ed.
You going Ed Richards, Brad? I didn't know that.
What other Richards is there? Joe Richards. Is he starting a real pot up forward, is he?
He might be doing a Sandful Supercoach. You never know.
Yeah.
I guess it's Ed Richards. That's like short for me. I can't do it. Fair enough. It takes some balls. CWT, g'day, mate. Hope you're doing well on this big Supercoach day. I can record at 1 p.m. We'll get that sorted. Brad, stay on the show. CBA's, for the most part, danger to start, but most likely swing forward. Opens up for Nevitt, I hope. Yeah, so are we seeing... Because Danger did play a lot forward in pre-season, and games are too long. Legends has to play a bit more forward.
They've spoken about him playing a forward role now that there's no Tom Hawkins. So, I mean, I know Shannon Neal is down there as well, but it sounds like Patrick Dangerfield will also form part of that replacement strategy now that there's no Tom Hawkins. So, yeah, I think Dangerfield not attending as many centre bounces opens up a role for Mitch Nevitt.
Yeah, and Bailey Smith is the other winger. I mean, I think he'll be mainly as a wing and then maybe do some CBAs, but I think Bailey Smith's going to really be eased into the season.
Well,
70s Tog wing.
If you
role.
believe. If you believe what people are tweeting, I think if that round 0 game went ahead last week, I don't think Bailey Smith would have played.
No.
They were talking about he was still dealing with soreness from whatever it was that he copped in the preseason, which they said was just he pulled a muscle in Pilates and would be fine, but by the sound of it, he was still, in the rehab group last week, so he might not have even played for round 0 if that game went ahead.
Geelong have Pilates classes.
He's got Pilates to get for his ACL.
Oh, right. I didn't know that they would have Pilates down in Geelong, but good on them. I had no idea that they do that. If name yes, Ed. They want support for Neil as he's learning the body work for a Hawkins replacement. Yeah, they've cloned another Tom Hawkins. Put money on Shannon Neal winning the Coleman, I reckon. Oh, wait, I said Sam Darcy would. Yeah, it'll be Darcy or Shannon Neal in my book. I was going to say Nick Watson, but after his performance, he's probably dropped behind the pack a bit.
The Coleman?
Yeah, the Coleman. Shannon Neal's him, bro.
Where's Josh Tracy in that in that mix?
Oh, he's 100% in the mix. I just like going rogue.
I think Josh Tracy's more a bit rogue as well.
Maybe in the Victorian media, yes, but I don't underrate the big kahuna. Damo, I think we'll head to the Tracy far ahead. Fair enough. I think we're going to head to our quote. So, as a discussion point, I talked to former Supercoach content creator JD if we could use his quote, and he's all good with it. So, it's just a bit of a discussion point for us as content creators. I know we both have our different styles of producing content, but I think it could still lean towards it. So, on Pig's Pen episode 6, this JD quote, said this: I totally think content creators play it a little bit safe with their teams because they're content creators. I know not everyone will say that, and I probably wouldn't have said that a year ago, but now being on the other side of it, where I don't have to show my team or prepare for it weekly. I think I was playing it a little bit safe with my selections. At least what I would show, because you put in a crazy pod into your team and it gets on YouTube and the discussion devolves into that and it misses the point, right? Like it's having a spicy pick isn't what I want to talk about. Probably everything else. So that was the quote from JD, and it's an interesting way to put it about. Do you feel like we played a bit safe sometimes? Is there things that we don't want to reveal that we sort of do?
I think when you're always talking to the same people, you usually end up with the same ideas on a lot of things. So we do see a lot of the teams within content creators who talk a lot to each other. I think those teams look fairly similar. The
Yeah.
other thing that content creators do, and I'm probably guilty of it as well, so this is not excluding me, that if you see a team that is not like the one that you have selected, you ask a lot of questions, and sometimes those questions can get um, a bit critical. So you make a lot of people rethink their team because it doesn't look like yours. And so I think there is a subconscious from a lot of people that they don't want questions about their teams that haven't already been answered, because, and that's not to say they can't justify having the players that they've selected. They just don't want to have to deal with a community that doesn't trust their word because they've gone for Tim Kelly at M5, perhaps. Like maybe maybe there is someone out there who reckons Tim Kelly's gonna, have a great start to the year because, West Coast need him to have a great start to the year. Like there's no, yeah, I think content creators have similar teams and have what is considered a safe team because they all talk to each other. So all of those teams look fairly similar, but I don't know. It's an interesting discussion because I'd like to know what he considers a safe team and what he doesn't consider a safe team. Because I've seen some content creator teams out there, that are definitely not safe.
Yeah. And yeah, so I guess the simple example would be, would we have the balls to not start like a Harry Sheasel, who is 67% owned? Everyone has him. Which a few content creators have gone for, but the criticism around it, if it doesn't pay off, is probably what we're scared about a little bit. If that makes any sense. Harry Sheasel, what an idiot. Why would we listen to you? Like, so that's because I had a very unique team in January, and I'll do it on TikTok. I'll do it on YouTube, and that's probably the most amount of negative comments that I've probably received. Which I don't really care for negative comments. I just put it to the side. But yeah, you kind of want to play it safe because you don't want to have a stinker season, and it's a bit tough to make content when you're 60K round 8. Sort of what's the point? Because you try to do something different and it didn't pay off, but the following year it could very much pay off and you could be inside the top 100 in the season because you've gone different. So I think playing it safe and being around that mark is what people, yeah.
Well, I mean, Jovan May won last year, and he had a massive, his team was built on value, and he's done that, and he's gone again. He's gone value again, and we've got more value this year than we had last year.
1,000%.
And I think, and the team that he revealed, I know this was about a month ago now, but the team that he revealed in the video with
DR,
with DR, that team was getting so heavily criticized.
yep.
But this guy won SuperCoach building a team that exact same way. His starting team last year probably looked fairly similar to and so why are we criticizing a guy that is literally one super coach building a team this exact same way?
He's the
It's
last person you criticize.
exactly right. People. I've seen comments on his team, on his starting team, that is like, this guy's taking the piss. He doesn't care about it anymore. All that sort of thing. He won Supercoach from the same from the same perspective that he's got starting this year, and people are still criticizing him for the way he's picking selections. Like, and then a few years ago, we had Emily win, and everyone was like, she didn't pick her team. That team looks far too good for a starting
Yeah,
team.
that was unbelievable the way people were going
like
about Emily.
like no one like we all talk about like we don't want the same team, but then as soon as someone puts up anything different, then there's all this criticism that gets thrown their way, that they don't take the game seriously, that they must only be playing for leagues, that they must only be playing in an office comp. No one takes someone else's opinion seriously. And I think that's another thing that plays into content creators' minds, where they want to be taken seriously. They want to build an audience. They want to have that team that people pay attention to because it is close to what they have. So they can copy the moves, they can take the trade advice, they can make the money moves that bring the cash in to make the upgrades. If your team doesn't look like someone's team who's watching, then people will tune out because it's too far away from them to be able to make changes to their own side.
Yeah, exactly. And as well as if your team, if one of our teams is extremely unique, all the discussion is around everyone's similar teams, and they can talk about what the best move, because everyone's team's so similar. If you have to go your own route, you sort of have to really, it's by yourself, because you don't get help with such a unique team, because it's a unique team. Where a lot of content creators starting teams is maybe similar, because we can have a similar sort of mindset and discussion about what we need to do to go up in the ranks. So I think it's an interesting discussion, and I'm glad JD said it, because I think there is merit to it. Like for me, I probably wouldn't mind going against Sheasel, but at the same time, it's a bit ballsy too. So I know there's some content creators out there that are going without Sheasel, and full credit to them. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting discussion. So I'm glad. So thank you to JD for letting me use that quote as a discussion point. So
Good question from Rookie Coach actually in the chat. He just says, we don't think unique teams make people want to pay attention or at least be curious. I think there's a curiosity if your team is interesting enough, but I also think there's two sides of the coin there, where you get one audience that is so totally curious in how your team goes because it is so different. But then you'll get the other guys which is unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you see it, 70%, maybe even more of the audience who don't pay attention because your team is so different to theirs, so they can't use the advice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually a fantastic point. They're going to go to the content creators with a team similar to theirs and then ask, what's the best move for this week? They're not going to go to the guy with Tim Kelly at M5 and go, what are we going to do with Tim Kelly? You're not going to get any questions about Tim Kelly. You're going to have to think about yourself, what you do, what is the next move, that sort of thing. And as well as if you start with a very similar team, the repercussions aren't as bad. Like you're in this journey together, where if it's so lonely, it would be so lonely having a unique team and you start poorly, you're just by yourself. And you feel like you're trying to catch up to the similar teams in a way.
But also, if I was a content creator and my team was shitting the bed to the point where I'm stuck at 80k ranks for the entire year, it's going to reach a point where I just don't want to make content anymore for that year.
Yeah, and it's not fun, is it?
No. So at least having a team that is similar to most other people, at least you can take ideas from other people and, start making content again. And even if your content is kind of copying or like, you'll eventually get your own ideas. But if your content eventually starts out, copying someone else a little bit because you've got the same team, then you can get yourself back on track.
Yeah, exactly. And you can listen to more people with a similar team. Like, you can listen to more content with a similar team and all that. So yeah, I just thought it's probably a perspective I've never really thought about. And I think it's been a good discussion about that. So yeah, we'll get back to a couple of these questions here. Is Callahan fine for a starting pick?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. He's perfectly fine. Brad started 100K after round one. My season was as I was a content creator, got myself back in the 5K under 100K rank. It was hard to put out content when you're playing catch up. Yeah, it's much more negative making content when you start. When you feel so far behind the pack. I think this was this. I believe this was 2023 when Brad started 100K and he got back himself up to 5K. And I think a lot of content creators actually in 2023 started very poorly with the teams, and then we just found our way back. So yeah, full credit to Brad. He just absolutely cooked, and that's why that's probably why it's so important to nail in-season trading. If you can nail that, which Brad did this season, then you can easily catch up.
When you asked before what's more important, your starting side or your in-season trades, I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
But so you can start with a really good team and do really good trading throughout the season and improve your starting side. But Brad's showing here that that even if your starting side doesn't work, you can trade into a good rank.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's why I think in-season trading is more important. You can have a poor start, and if you nail your correction trades, then you can get yourself back into it. Where if the roles are reversed, you pick a great starting team, but you don't trade correctly. That was sort of me last season, and you just sort of plateau in that 5 to 10K range for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing about trading, if you start poorly, is those points away from the top 100 or from the top 1%, is those points are gone. You need to make those points up elsewhere. So it does require some good VC and C calls. It does require some crazy trades where maybe you do go for a key forward that has, the bottom four out of the next in 5 of the next in 4 of the next 6 weeks. Like, you got to trade into these guys and have plans to jump off them, have your parachute ready for if it doesn't work. But mate, if you start and your rank is so poor, you are trying everything to get back up the top.
Yeah, of course. And I think the number one key for people is don't give up. Like, just consume content, consume your thoughts on SuperCoach. Just like Brad here, you can easily get yourself back into it. Rookie coach, from a content creating perspective, I think it's how we communicate our team. If you're telling / recommending players, then sure. But if you're saying, hey, I'm going a bit different, it's risky. Yeah, and that's where the negative comments lead to. And if it doesn't pay off, it does. It's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling whatsoever. And you probably lose viewers if you start poorly because, why would I go to someone that's 80K after round one? I'll go listen to the guy that's 8K and all that. So yeah, that's been the discussion really. Big bowler brand, LeVar Ball. Hope you're going well, LeVar. Did you see his do you know LeVar Ball?
Are we talking about basketball?
Yeah, he's Lonzo Ball.
No, I have no idea.
Nah, his leg got amputated. He had an issue with in his foot. So shout out to LeVar. I hope you're doing all good, mate. Thoughts on Matty Flynn? Too risky. Think I am going for a primo rucks and an extra rookie mid and flex. So I guess Big Bowler Brand wants to talk about whether to put Matty Flynn at R2. I'm probably going to do that. I think I'm going Flynn R2, Damo.
Jeez. I'm still not convinced that he is the number one ruck at West Coast. I've got him in my flex at the moment, but I'm not convinced he holds on to that number one ruck. If he has a poor game or too many poor games, it's going to go back to Bailey Williams.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If Flynn gets picked round one as the solo ruck, I think you go with it. So I don't think it's too risky. It's extremely risky going him at R2, which I'm currently running with.
Who's your parachute option if Flynn shits the bed round one and we never see him again?
Well, it's best 18 for 3 rounds, so you've got 3 rounds to sort that out.
Yeah, but then after 3 rounds, what are you doing? Where are you going?
There'll probably be a mid price if that fails, and you use that money, and then use Flynn to do a swap and a rookie.
Fair enough.
So that's probably my plan.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It's like I see someone in that price range, and it just reminds me of the year that people started Braden Pruce at R2.
But at least Pruce made a bit of money.
Yeah, but he didn't make enough money, so people were jumping on guys like Tom Hickey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. There's always some ruck that pulls, that just cuts sick, 400k or less. And I don't know. If all Flynn needs to do is last 6 weeks, in my eyes, and then you wait for a ruck to go down in price, that's an 80k swap sort of thing. That's how I view it. And if it doesn't, then you adjust. So if you put him at R2, you're running the risk of using 2 trades instead of 1 to move off him, instead of a flex just using 1. So yeah, it's a bit of a juggling act. Join me, SDS. Oh, was this about Sheasel? I don't think I can do it. Yeah. I see something with Kelly at M5 and I'm watching them religiously. Yeah. Fair enough. Oh, it's different, man.
I just find it so funny that I mentioned Tim Kelly at M5 once and it became an example throughout this entire thing.
Yeah, I think they'll be our new scapegoat. I think we'll just use Tim Kelly as the example the whole season. Imagine if he comes out cutting sick. That'd be amazing.
And then everyone's trading into Tim Kelly at M5.
I might have to. He'll be my M9. You can trade into a good rank, but you also need to nail B, C, and C every bloody week. Yeah, this is actually a good discussion point as well, because I personally reckon you don't need to get this grouse captain option every week. The ones that cost you are the ones where they score under 90. Those are the captains that cost you. Like a 115, 120 captain, I think is fine to get each week. It's the floor games that kill you. And we all get it. There's usually once a year that we get a captain score under 100. I think I got about 3 last year.
Yeah.
Shout out Zach Fisher. Me and Brad were part of that pain. Captain Zach Fisher. He nearly kicked the game winner and he hit the post. Oh, God. That was so painful. My VCNC is what killed me last year. Was shocking. Just look at Third Man Up on Twitter. Look at Pig Mentality on YouTube. They're by far and away the best 2 to listen to for VCNC advice. Thoughts on Rosie and Anderson M2? I can't start Flynn. Never had him in my team. That's fair enough.
I like Rosie more than Anderson, but love both selections.
I don't mind Anderson. Yeah. Rosie or Anderson, whichever one you prefer. I find it. If you need the money, go Rosie. You need a boost. My housemate just sneezed so loud in the lounge.
I was wondering what that sound
Did you hear
was.
that? Did you hear that?
I heard that.
Yeah.
If I heard it, everyone else probably heard it.
You need a boost out of that situation at R2, Flynn. I don't think it has to cost 3 trades. I think it can cost 2, but yeah, there'll be a mid-pricer that fails, and I just use that money to get another ruck. Probably. How long have we gone for? 1 hour and 6 minutes. Is there any more discussions we want to talk about? As we're on 16 viewers right now, I'll just remind everyone that we do take callers. I'll tweet every week to see who wants to be a caller, who wants to call in for a question, all that sort of thing on this live stream, as we're trying to do a radio style show. And you could also be a part of the quiz. So no one wanted to be no one wanted to call in, so we haven't bothered with that. And then quiz wise, me and Damo will create a quiz each week, and the winner gets bragging rights. I don't know. I'm not. Would we give anything away for the winner?
I don't know.
No, no. You just get bragging rights. We'll do a quiz each week. I don't think we're really missing much else.
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything. It's been a good start. It's been a good show.
It has been a good show, yes. And yeah, let me know. Let us know what you guys thought of it. I mean, yeah, I think we've covered just about everything. So I think we'll probably wrap it up, Damo. 1 hour and 7 minutes. I thought it was a good sesh, mate.
Good session, good chat.
Good debut episode.
Good to see all the people in the chat getting involved. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. So thank you for jumping on. It has been a blast. Good banter, good debates, good chat, all that stuff. So that's the most important thing. So yeah, we'll wrap it up, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the debut episode of AFL SuperCoach Throwdown Thursdays. I could get our current background to be the main background behind the cameras, but I have to pay for it, which, as you guys know, I'm a bit of a tight ass, so probably won't. So we'll probably just use this background for the season. So thank you all so much for watching and commenting and tuning in. It's been a great chat with Damo, and we'll see you next Thursday, 11 a.m. on the dot. Hopefully this time we'll be a bit more planned. So cheers, guys.
See ya.